So last month I was interviewed at River Road in front of a live audience for a recorded podcast. And the first question I was given was, what is your theological elevator speech? And I responded by asking, how many stories are on this building and which floor are we getting off on? Months before, I came up with a phrase that I thought best captures what I am theologically. So I said, I am a pluralistic mystic. I don't believe in God, I experience God. The mystic pursues an experience that is difficult to explain and articulate. The Tao Te Ching says that the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. Can we name the unnameable? Speak the unspeakable? F the ineffable? I'm glad some people laughed at that. I thought it was... The mystical is a challenge to summarize quickly, even if I was in an elevator going all the way to the top floor of the Empire State Building. There is a whole school of theology, it's called the apophatic, that says whatever divinity is such an unfathomable mystery, we can't say anything for sure about it. We can only say that which it is not. So I doubt those who try to tell us with certainty what the numinous is. What mystics call God is not an infinite amount of names for God. Mystics groove on inspiration and intuition, and rigorously deconstruct the absolutism that makes ultimate reality into something a person or entity knows with certainty. The theologian Catherine Keller writes, "No name or image or concept that human beings use to speak of the divine mystery ever arrives at its goal. God is essentially incomprehensible." But I'm a preacher, and I want to try to articulate. I want to take into some attempts to tell you what I think. So what I'm talking about is not an idea. It's not a doctrine. It's not metaphysics. It's not theology. It's intuition. It's feeling. Mystics want to experience what Moses felt at the burning bush, or what St. Paul did when he was caught up in the direct experience of God, which he called being swept up into the third heaven. We want to experience those experiences. It's kind of like the difference between reading a book about Paris and actually going to Paris and seeing the glorious windows of the Sainte-Chapelle in person, or being stuck in a long line to see the Mona Lisa. Now, this can be tough for many of us because we all have been educated to use technical reason to find truth. But the mystical way is a different way through experience. Now, don't get me wrong. I love books, I love ideas, and I love the intellectual life, but I prefer Paris to books about Paris. These lack of rules and clarity may be disturbing to some, but to mystics, we find this freeing. The whole world becomes a sacred potential. The brightness of the crab apple blossoms. The brainy folds of a morel mushroom. It forces us to come up with fresh metaphors. Infinite sky, great mother, universal love, sacred depth, bottomless well, eerie abyss of being, the non-separable, the non-knowable. Within these verbal disciplines, we mystics check our own idolatries, but the goal remains the same: persistent attunement to the mystery. It's the farmer on the tractor that sees the field of sky and recognizes her place amidst it all. And every religion that I know of has this mystical side, a language of mystery. And perhaps Ralph Waldo Emerson was one of our first early mystics, especially when he speaks of a wise silence and a universal beauty that lies within the oneness of everything. Seek the wisdom of the quiet. Listen, contemplate. Don't filter anything, and pay attention to the delicate breathing room between the words, and feel the caress of mystery. Now, I didn't set out to become a mystic. I think something just sort of happened. I was brought up with a lot of doctrines and beliefs, which never quite did it for me. And I felt something in my heart. And then, like waves through my whole body, my whole being, whatever it was, it made my life fuller. And the only language I had from my Christian upbringing was to call it the Holy Spirit. So I kept pursuing it, even going so far as to speak in tongues. Then years later, I was looking out over Lake Michigan, and there are parts where it just looks like an ocean. The water meets the sky without a line. I was listening to John Coltrane, and these mysterious waves came into me, and I gave over to them. And I knew right then and there that all my concepts of God were inadequate. And I stopped believing in God. For the pluralistic mystic, all religions offer nuggets of this mystical truth. And even beyond the formal paths of organized religion, the mystical experience is natural to humanity. Over 2 decades ago, the famed jazz pianist Chick Corea was supposed to play a Mozart piano concerto with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. So I went to see Chick Corea primarily. The second half of the concert, which was really an afterthought, was Anton Bruckner's 7th Symphony. Has anyone ever heard that symphony? Maybe some of you have. In it, I heard the language of God. I heard the language of mystery. Bruckner was a mystic. Music feeds the mystic. Now, it is a long symphony, It's like 70 minutes long or so. So if you just want to get I challenge you in the next week to look it up on YouTube or whatever and listen to just the ending of the first movement, like 3 minutes. It's sublime. So music, theater, arts, all these human endeavors all have the capacity to make us feel as if we are drops of water in an ocean. The sense that there is something higher or deeper is built into us. When we are deprived of it, life gets dull. We humans assume that there is a spiritual dimension behind things, and that is not necessarily a brain development thing that we age out of. It's not just for kids, it's even more so with adults. In this sense, spirituality is more natural than even science. Being trained in the Western education system, we might ignore the impulse to contemplate mystery, but mystics indulge in it. At times, I feel lost, stressed, anxious, depressed. Despair sets in. And that's when I know I need that caress of presence, a deep awareness of an ultimate reality. In Hinduism, mystics aim for relationship between the individual soul, or Atman, and the universal soul, Brahman. The goal is to sense the unity of all things, to feel your identity, your innermost self, connected with the deepest reality of the universe. Christian mystics and Muslim Sufis speak of an indwelling presence that is always there. Of course, we have to live life and take tests and drive cars and all these different things. We can't walk in rapture all day. But when we get quiet, the fluidity of love melts us. We are transformed and slowly lose our egocentric self. We do the inner work and part of us dies. And we mature and we grow. As Persian Sufi poet Rumi says, "No one will find his way to the court of magnificence until he is annihilated. You are your own shadow. Become annihilated in the rays of the sun." A transformation takes place. The inner self is purified. We give up something, and everything that is not of divinity melts away. These experiences lead us to more contentment, service to others, and better relationships. And the ultimate goal is a union with all. A reality that goes beyond verbose, that goes beyond language, can be taught. The nun and Christian mystic from the 16th century, Teresa of Avila, uses the analogy of 4 different ways of watering a garden. First, you go to the well. Water is taken out of the well and the buckets are heavy. It's a struggle. It's a lot of labor and time consuming. This is prayer with words. It takes a lot of diligence sometimes to focus the mind. The second way of watering is using a water wheel or an aqueduct. It's less laborious. The mind gets less noisy and rests in peace. Contemplative prayer can begin. The third way to water a garden is by a stream or river running through it, and all you needs is it requires little effort. Sometimes you have to redirect the water, but that's it. The intellect is largely at rest. The soul is mostly surrendered. But what's the best way to water a garden? Let it rain. Gentle and consistent. Nature waters the garden without any human effort. New life flourishes and grows without much doing. Love, like rain, falls down. For the mystic, various forms of meditation and spiritual practice are tools to purify the mind. The mystic seeks the quiet to contemplate and attain unity. In the midst of the restless longing of the pilgrimage of life, we come to a town and see the huge doors of a cathedral. We tug on the handle and want to go inside and see its beauty and worship in it. But the doors are locked. But we remember we have keys. We fumble around for them and we realize we left them in the car, and we go get our keys and the door is stuck, it's warped, it's an ancient thing, and we need help to move the door. But sometimes the door is open and all we do is walk through. No keys needed. A woman was given a beautiful jewel by her grandmother. She was afraid to lose it, so she attached it to a necklace and wore it around her neck. When she would go to bed, she would put it in her jewelry box. And one day she woke up and could not find it there. She looked all over, under her bed, in her car. She went to the library where she was the previous day, and then to the movie theater where she was the day before that. She started to panic. Someone must have stolen it. She called her grandmother. "I've lost the priceless jewel you have given me." And the wise grandmother said, "I'm sure you will find it close to your heart." At that moment, she realized she was wearing it. Or there's a story from the 19th century Indian Hindu mystic Ramakrishna. There was once a man who could only fall asleep while reading, so his lamp would often burn when he was asleep. And once he woke up in the middle of the night and he wished to have a smoke, but he couldn't find his matches. So he thought he'd go to his neighbor's house to get a light, and he walked to his neighbor's house with his lamp, and he knocked on the door and said, I wish to smoke. Can you give me a light?" And the neighbor replied, "Bah! What is the matter with you? You have taken so much trouble to come and awaken us at this hour when in your hand you have a lighted lantern." We wander here and there in search of the ineffable. But that which we seek, we already are. We already have. For all who are lost, we have built-in GPS systems. We already have the priceless jewel next to our hearts. We carry with us an internal flame. May our gardens be watered eternally. by the gentle rain of love.